afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome all the participants for today's session. I heartily welcome our speaker, Dr. Jagdish Chaturvedi, our principal investigator, Dr. Virender Garg, our co-principal investigator, Dr. Harish, and Dr. Sakshi, and all the coordinators from our Brain Trust Institute. Today, we have a session named Biodesign Process Stakeholder Analysis. So before we start the session, I would like to play a video of CI Biology. Please have a look.
Very good afternoon to everyone. Before proceeding further, I'll briefly introduce about our center and its different activities. So today's session is about biodesign process stakeholder analysis advanced. All right, Center for Innovation and Biodesign is an healthcare innovation hub and startup incubator established by ICMR New Delhi. And we are situated at Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education and Research, Chandigarh. CBIOD aims to promote innovation in the field of medical devices, instruments, life sciences, healthcare technology, education, clinical research, and health delivery system by creating a conducive ecosystem with the involvement of multiple stakeholders from research institutions, government, as well as private healthcare sector, both locally as well as globally. Broadly, our objectives include innovation in the field of biodesign, medical devices, instruments, technologies, including life sciences, as well as other branches of healthcare sector, in order to make healthcare affordable for one and all. We also aim to promote automated solutions and approaches for various common medical problems. Our aim is also to impart as well as promote manpower training for researchers, clinicians, and faculties working in the area of medical sciences. As well as we also aim to act as a consultancy center by providing solutions to hospitals and businesses in the area of medical science. So what is the short-term attachment program all about? It is a golden opportunity for students, researchers, as well as faculties. So some of the common salient features are listed below. Will help them in learning about innovation and its different activities, use of technology and imparting knowledge, as well as some of these other objectives. All right. So our today's speaker is Dr. Jagdish Chaturvedi. Sir is an ENT surgeon, medical device innovator, and an ardent author. He obtained his bachelor's degree in medical sciences from St. John's Medical College, Bangalore. Apart from being a Stanford India Biodesign Fellow, he holds an MBA degree in entrepreneurship and hospital management. He has co-invented more than 18 affordable medical devices, thereby addressing unmet needs in the Indian healthcare system. Along with continuing his clinical career, he is the founder director of High Innovation Private Limited. We welcome you, sir, for today's session.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, sir, you may start the session.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Just give me a second. Well, good afternoon, everyone. And I think taking back from our last time's session where we did needs observation. Are you able to hear me well? I have my mic nearby. Yeah, are you able to hear me well?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, so just like last time session, we'll try to keep this interactive because it's a workshop and not really just a one-way talk. Just to recap, I'm going to quickly share my screen and tell you about what we talked about last time, in case there are some new people who have joined today. Let me quickly share the screen. Okay. Right. Are you able to see the screen?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So today, last time what we did was we talked about how do you identify an unmet need from a clinical or observation perspective, and then how do you identify the criteria for the need. So this is just a quick introduction. It's already been made. So last time we did this observation need statement and creating those criteria, or and how the observation of the problem basically define what the solution should be. There's a very important element of the biodesign process that has to be put in early, which is called stakeholder analysis or stakeholder strategy. And this is very important to be done at the stage of ideation. So when you're doing your ideas and you've come up with 5-6 different ideas, it's important to know whether these ideas will be well accepted by all the stakeholders. A stakeholder is basically anyone who's going to be affected by the solution that you're going to bring in. And solution solution that technologically it's great, it's very innovative, but it may be not aligned with some very important stakeholders, and in that case, your product may struggle to be received well in the market. So how do you identify these stakeholders, and how do you analyze whether your idea is going to work well with this or not work well with this? That is basically what today's session is about. Just to give you a revision, this is the unmet need that we saw last time. We'll be using this as an exercise. For any new people who have joined, this is the need that we addressed in our last session. The observation was a 5-year-old child who taken a button off his shirt and is stuck in the nose. This case was seen at a community healthcare center, and because of lack of tools, they do a jugaad to create, a small hook or a bend by bending needles. He was not able to grasp it and caused quite a lot of pain, and the foreign body was not extracted. So this was a clinical observation which we had, our team had seen, and then here's this child who had put a button inside the nose, and the doctor had made some makeshift tools, was unable to remove the button. And then we found out that there are lakhs and lakhs of such children who are first taken to the primary care physician in a community health center or a PHC or a private clinic or a pediatrician's office. And there they don't have dedicated tools, so they try with whatever they have. And many times they are not able to remove the foreign body. Sometimes they push it inside, and the child has to undergo a surgical procedure by an ENT surgeon, and then it has to be removed, which subjects the child to anesthesia, risk of foreign body entering the throat, and a lot of cost and expenses. For this, we walked through how that need transpired into this solution. So this is a solution of the product where we've made a handheld device which is metallic because of its sterilization requirement. It has a sheath, and it goes over, into like a small gun-like device, and it's a small trigger. So we can pass this inside the nose with the light, and we can pull, the foreign body out easily. So for example, if the foreign body is inside the nose, you can just go behind it and pull it out. And this is successfully also being used by ENT surgeons across the country today, by doctors across the country, not ENT surgeons, emergency doctors, primary care physicians, and pediatricians. So what we need to do is we need to, at the stage of the ideation, be aware of who are the stakeholders. First, we have to identify all of them. Then we have to see how they're going to be affected by it, by the invention. So how do we identify all the stakeholders? So we typically use an approach where we look at three things. We look at the flow of care, we follow that, then we follow the flow of money, and then we follow the flow of product. By doing all of these three, we are able to identify almost everyone who's going to come in contact with the solution, with the care of this particular problem, right from flow of care, right from flow of money and flow of product. Everybody who's involved in this process, we can identify. Then what we do is we bring in the product or the solution, and we do this mapping again and see who is being cut off, who is being affected, and whether the person who's being negatively affected is that category of person someone who can completely stop the adoption of our device, or if someone is positively affected, is that someone who can influence the usage of our device. And this analysis is typically left by many people towards the end when they're doing marketing and commercialization, but it is of no use there, because by that time your product is already made. It doesn't make any difference whether your stakeholders are positive or negative. For that reason, this has to be done when you're doing your concept selection. You have come up with the ideas, you have 4-5 ideas, you are trying to still think which idea you have to select, and you will select based on the cost factors, will based on the criteria that have been created. And one of the reasons will also be to see whether the stakeholders are favorable or not favorable. If they are not favorable, do you have a business model strategy to convert them into becoming favorable? And that's when your solution becomes innovative, not only from the device point of view, but also becomes from the business model point of view. So do this, and I can see your chat messages. Just directly share the answers so that we keep it, interactive. So generally what we do in the stakeholder identification is we first follow the flow of care, flow of money, and flow of product for the current gold standard use, which is this kind of a catheter. This is called as a eustachian tube catheter. Today, this is the device that people use, where the ENTs use, and this is the solution that is accepted as of now today. The problem with the solution is that it requires some amount of skill, which an ENT acquires during their training. But this skill and access to this device is not there for non-ENTs, such as a pediatrician or a general practitioner or a casualty medical officer may not even be aware of this tool and may not have even used it. And this requires a certain advanced skill set because it's a very long tube. It goes from the tip of the nose all the way till the ear. So how do you pass it into a child's nasal cavity without damaging it? There is a particular angle, there is a particular depth, and it doesn't come intuitively. This has to be done with training. So let us take this as an example of how when a child comes with a foreign body in the nose, how is it that we are going to now identify all the stakeholders? Before we proceed, does anybody have any questions or clarifications? Now would be a good time so that then you can participate freely for the rest of the session. No questions? Okay, then that means I should expect a lot of participation.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
सर जो आपने प्रीवियसली बताया था, जो मींस आपने बताई थी सोनो वाली, सर वो मींस कोई भी जनरल डॉक्टर यूज कर सकते हैं, लेकिन दिस इज मींस फॉर ENT सर्जन्स स्पेशली फॉर.
नहीं, व्हाट इज योर क्वेश्चन सोनम? आई कुडंट अंडरस्टैंड.
सर जो आपने थोड़ी टाइम पहले जो पिछले सेशन में भी हमें डिवाइस इंट्रोड्यूस करवाई थी सोनो वाली, सर जो इससे पहले जो आपने वीडियो भी दिखाई थी उनकी, तो सर उसमें ये था कि वो कोई भी डॉक्टर यूज कर सकते हैं, लाइक कि कोई भी प्राइमरी हेल्थ केयर सेंटर पे भी यूज किया जा सकता है. लेकिन सर जो आप ये बता रहे हो, ये मीन स्पेशली फॉर ENT सर्जन्स के लिए या जो स्पेशलाइज्ड हैं.
करेक्ट सोनम. सो हम लोग क्या करते हैं, जब हम स्टेक होल्डर आइडेंटिफिकेशन करते हैं, ये इस स्टेज में करते हैं जब वो सोल्यूशन बना नहीं है. सो अभी तो हम इसको रेट्रोस्पेक्टिवली कर रहे हैं क्योंकि नोजिनो ऑलरेडी बन गया, लॉन्च हो गया है. बट ये जो एक्सरसाइज होती है ये हमने तब की थी जब सिर्फ ये सोल्यूशन अवेलेबल था और नोजिनो का जो आइडिया था वो एक कॉन्सेप्ट था. हमारे पास 5-6 कॉन्सेप्ट थे. We had a mechanical removal foreign body, we had suction based removal foreign body, we had some liquid gel जो उसको dissolve कर दे, we had कुछ और 3-4-5-6 concepts थे हमारे पास. At that concept stage हम ये exercise करते हैं. So right now what I'm saying is जब हम identification करते हैं stakeholders का, तब हम अपनी invention को लेके नहीं करते हैं. तब हम map out करते हैं कि अभी before the invention who are the people who are involved in the care of nasal foreign body removal. Or because there is no device, dedicated device for pediatricians, there is no dedicated device for general practitioners, that is the gap. This is the only gold standard, this is available at the moment. तो हम इसको मैप आउट करने के लिए देखते हैं कि आज nasal foreign body removals कैसे हो रहे हैं, और जब when today nasal foreign body removals are being done, who are all the people who are involved? That the stakeholders are nothing but people who are involved in this care process. In nasal foreign body, impaction removal, all the people. So for that reason, first we will do with a gold standard and we will map everyone out. Then we will bring our concept and we will map with our concept, and then we will see who is being affected. To see who is being affected, you have to have a comparison. Otherwise you will not know. So in today's time, how is nasal foreign body being done? When we bring Nozino into the picture, who are the people who are being positively affected and who are the people being negatively affected, that we will compare. So that is the idea, Sonam. Does that bring some clarity?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, wonderful. Anybody has any other questions before we proceed? Okay, so we're going to do this together. Okay, so now first we will do flow of care, and remember we are doing flow of care of this existing rudimentary tool. We are not doing flow of care of the solution we talked about. We will do that as the second round. First round, we want to know that before the invention, when the problem is there, how is it being addressed? So this is a stainless steel tool. This is there only with the ENT. Right now, there is no solution with the general practitioner or the pediatrician. So what will be the flow of care? Who is the first person affected in the care?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Please tell me.
Sir, the patient is the first person.
Perfect. So the child whose nose has the foreign body is the first person involved in the flow of care, because this is the person suffering from the problem. This person needs the care. So now where will this care flow to? This child is taken where next? Who is the next person who comes into the picture?
So doctor.
Yeah. So the next person will be the general practitioner or the community medical officer. जो कोई भी आसपास doctor they feel who look at a child, could be a pediatrician also, not mentioned here, but a pediatrician can be included. These are the first place that the patient will be taken. Now here two things can happen. Somehow maybe the doctor may be able to use something and treat the patient. Then the flow of care ends. But this is the problem. The problem is the flow of care does not end here, because this is a gap we identified. So where is the child taken next if the GP and the CMO are not able to remove the foreign body?
So some special doctor like.
Some specialist, like an ENT doctor?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Specialist who have a knowledge.
Correct. So an ear, nose, throat doctor would be the specialist who will be involved. Now, once this ENT doctor will be involved, they will see that the foreign body is there in the nose, and the foreign body will mostly be stuck, because the general practitioner CMOs would have attempted and it has failed. So the doctor may either be able to use the eustachian tube catheter and the flow of care will end. But most of the times when the foreign body is stuck, the doctor will not be able to remove it with the eustachian tube catheter, because already there's injury, swelling, child will also be very non-compliant and crying. तो इसके बाद क्या होगा? Where does the care flow from the ENT? What will the ENT then tell the child and the parents?
Good afternoon, sir. Might be surgery.
Correct. So the child will be recommended to do surgery. So the nurses will come into the picture and the anesthetist will come into the picture, because they are the ones who will prepare the child for surgery. So the nurse will start an IV line, start some medications. The anesthetist who will give the anesthesia, they will come into the picture now, and they will check if the child is safe and fit for the procedure. After this, what happens? Where will the child go?
Operation theatre, sir.
Yeah, the child will then come and interact with the flow of care. So in the flow of care, we only have to put human beings, right? So who are the human beings they will come in contact with? So like in the operation theater, you will see the operation theater staff, and then of course the ENT surgeon will operate. And basically these will be the people who come into the flow of care. These are the ones who are providing treatment, right? Doctor is attempting the removal, ENTs doing the surgery, the nurse and anesthetist are preparing for the surgery, OT staff is arranging for the OT and everything like that. So we have identified some 6 stakeholders over here in our standard approach, okay? And there could be more that I may have missed out, but generally you keep thinking as a team, what is the exact flow? You map the entire flow of care. And sometimes if you don't know that, you have to go to the hospital and follow the patient, or talk to a few patients and say, "Pehle aap kahan gaye the, fir kaise gaye the?" And you have to try to define that care. This is where the role of the doctor in the team comes into the picture, so that you can identify this. But the flow of care will not include everyone, right? We want to include comprehensively all the stakeholders. Abhi ye 6 stakeholders we have identified, but there will be more stakeholders involved in this. So we look at it from 3 perspectives. Flow of care ho gaya. Now we will look at flow of money. who are the people involved in paying or receiving money for this particular care? So where will the money start from?
The patient's
The
family.
patient.
Parent or guardian, right? So the patient's parents or the relatives, because this is a case of a child, or generally children are most commonly affected. So the parent and guardian basically come into the care, the money picture. Technically, parent and guardian also come into the care because they are the first people who come and interact with the child when they have the nasal foreign body also. So we're covering, in case it is missed out there, the flow of money will pick it up, because the money has to come from here. And just like flow of care is important for a device to sustain, the understanding the flow of money is also important. So this money from the parent will go to whom first?
Doctor.
It will go to the doctor, and the same thing doctor will try, and after this it will go to the ENT, just like the flow of care. But here, when the doctor now says आपको surgery की ज़रूरत है, where will this money go to next?
Surgeon.
नहीं, immediately तो सर्जन के पास नहीं जाएगा ना. Where will the patient have to be, operation, admission? तो ये पैसा कहाँ?
हॉस्पिटल जिस हॉस्पिटल में पेशेंट.
तो एक बिलिंग डेस्क होगा, हॉस्पिटल एडमिशन के लोग होंगे, some sort of a money collection process will be there. Most of the times when patients are admitted, they have to give a deposit, and then that deposit, say they cut it. So it's like that kind of a deposit credit based system. Otherwise, if they have insurance, then the insurance company will also come into the flow of money. I've not mentioned here, but generally this hospital admission, billing desk, insurance, or whoever is funding this thing, they will all be listed in this particular process. So once the money goes into the, we are only following the money, by the way, right now. So once this money goes over here, what all is this money going to be used for? Who all will get this money from this deposit that the patient is paying? You know what will happen next, right? The patient will have to undergo surgery. तो सर्जरी के पहले लास्ट टाइम वी सॉ नर्सेस एनेस्थेटिस्ट कम. तो ये पैसा किसको जाएगा? What is it that the nurses and anesthetists will use?
So some part of money will be used for medication.
Perfect. Pharmacy को जाएगा. Hospital pharmacy will get some money because the hospital pharmacy will give the medications that the child will need for pain control, bleeding control, preparation for surgery. Then, before a surgery, how do you typically, will a child be directly taken into surgery, or would they do some more things? Like there may be some X-ray may be asked to confirm whether the nasal foreign body is there or not there. If it is a battery or a metallic foreign body, generally some imaging or documentation will have to be done. Some sort of imaging or blood tests. Even before surgery, some blood tests will have to be done to see if the child's bleeding profile is fine, and all the other symptoms. I mean, there are no other problems in the health-wise to be fit for surgery, because the anesthetist will give fitness based on something, no? So generally lab technicians, X-ray, imaging, ECGs, depending upon the age of the patient, this money is going to basically go to pharmacy and then go to lab technicians and all of that, right? And then the money is going to go into the OT pharmacy, because there will be gloves, there will be tubes and catheters and surgical instruments, endoscope. All of these things are going to be used, right? So these equipment will be released from where? It will be released from the OT pharmacy. The pharmacy will give a kit, the nasal foreign body kit, or an OT kit, which then the nurses and the anesthetists will use, and all of that. So, ये flow of money में, in this flow of money, who are the new stakeholders we've identified? Which we didn't identify in the flow of care. Who are the new stakeholders we've identified? So in the last slide, we had child, doctor, ENT, then we had nurses, anesthetists, and OT staff. 6 we had identified. So who are the new ones we've identified here?
Sir, OT, pharmacy.
Pharmacy.
Yeah, so the pharmacists, lab technicians, the hospital mainly. Hospital comes into the picture here only, because hospital's job is to basically take the money and then facilitate the care. But when it comes to flow of care, hospital or billing and administration does not come into the picture, because they're not directly involved in the care. They're involved in enabling the care only when you provide them money. So in flow of money, you pick that there is a hospital requirement. Otherwise, if you just do the people ENT, then you will miss out on a hospital or facility required, because surgery has to be done. So and the pharmacy, pharmacists, lab technicians, radiology imaging people, OT pharmacy, all of these people. So flow of money has picked some more stakeholders that you can now list, that these are all the stakeholders that are involved in this particular care. Now, and of course, anesthetists, nurses, OT staff will eventually be paid money for their time, right? For all of this thing, either as a salary or based on number of cases, depending upon the kind of hospital, they get paid. So this money is going to basically flow in this manner. Now let's say flow of product, this stainless steel eustachian tube catheter. Where does the product begin from?
Manufacturing company.
Correct. So device manufacturer is basically going to manufacture this particular device, and from the device manufacturer, where will the device go?
Market.
Wholesalers.
Sorry? Typically,
Market.
distributor or a sales rep or a
Wholesalers.
marketing team or a wholesaler, retailer, who, depending upon the nature of the device, they can either be directly sold to the doctor or the pharmacist or doctor or the hospital, or there will be a distributor network that will take it. And this is a very strong, influential network, by the way. The distributors have very strong relationship and ties with hospitals, very strong relationship and ties with key decision makers. And for them, if you are making a device that is not going through them and bypassing them, they probably have ways to influence purchase. They can change tender terms. They can do a lot of things to ensure that your product doesn't go in. So it's important to know generally who all are involved in the flow of the product. Okay. After this, what will happen? Once it is to the distributor or sales rep, where will it go?
Consumers will buy it.
Correct. So consumer in this case will be a hospital most of the times, or even if it's a small nursing home or clinic, there's something called as a purchase department, and you have a purchase head. They are the ones who are in charge of purchasing equipment. Since this is a small stainless steel device, these distributors will normally in bulk sell it along with lots of other equipment, and they will do from the same distributor. Distributor might be bringing products from 5-6 different companies, and he will give them a good deal, and he'll keep his 30 to 40% margin and sell it to the purchase department. So the distributor will typically keep 30 to 40% margin and give the whatever remaining amount to the device manufacturer. And the purchase department will then keep the device. After this, what do you know what happens after this? When the device has now entered the hospital or the purchase department?
Devices will be installed as per the requirement.
Yeah, they will be stored. Now, this is a surgical tool or this is a procedural tool, so it will largely be in the operation theater pharmacy or storage section of the hospital. Whenever the doctor will write for this procedure, the nurse who is in charge will raise an indent, and then this product will be released from the storage and it will come to the patient, and it will move with the patient's trolley to the operation theater or for whatever procedure, if it's an OPD procedure, and that time the doctor will use it. So that is all the workflow of how the OT pharmacy or the storage is also involved in the flow of product. After this, what happens? Where does the product go? It will go to the OT, right? Where the procedure will be done to remove it. And then afterwards, it will go for sterilization, right? So then it will get sterilized. So there's a sterilization department that will be involved that will ensure that it is either autoclaved or sterilized with whatever appropriate sterilization means. And if it is a disposable, it will be thrown to waste segregation and management, and it will be managed. You can see in the flow of product, there is basically not many common stakeholders, but you've identified with the flow of product, flow of care, and flow of money, you have comprehensively identified majority of the stakeholders. And you have to do this with brainstorming and visiting hospitals, talking to a lot of these people to confirm it. It's not just guessing it out. In the first attempt as a team, you can guess it out and make a broad list. Then you have to validate that list कि यही लोग involved होते हैं और कोई भी involved होता है, and then you have to have a very thorough list. So now looking at the 6 people we identified from flow of care, plus we identified 4 extra from the flow of money, and now with the flow of product, we've identified manufacturer, distributor, purchase department. Hospital has been common, pharmacy and all that, but sterilization and all, 4 more we have identified. It looks like about 14 stakeholders involved in the nasal foreign body, clinical issue and its treatment. So once you have mapped this out, typically we do this on a whiteboard and we list everyone there. And now what we do is all those 5 or 6 ideas that we have, we bring that idea into this particular scenario, and we do a flow of care, we do a flow of money, and we do a flow of product. And then we see what happens to some stakeholders. Are they still involved? Are they cut off? Is it reducing somebody's work? Is it increasing somebody's work? And then that activity is called as an analysis. What we have done so far is only stakeholder identification. We have only followed and mapped, and we have identified. Now, we can't make any inference from this. Now, if you want to know ki kaun sa stakeholder positively will be affected, kaun sa negatively will be affected, kaun sa neutral hai, doesn't care, it will be very important for us to know in the positioning of the device. And that is what makes the business model. The business model of how you are going to bring this into the market has to be aligned with the stakeholders. And this exercise is not meant to break or make your idea. This is meant for you to know beforehand that if you want to bring a particular type of product to the market, you have to think of a business model that somehow aligns with the stakeholders. If somebody is negative, you have to think, how can I make this person a positive stakeholder? And that positioning will be very critical for the uptake of your product, because it's just not thinking of an idea and making it that is going to solve the problem. Eventually, all of these kind of people are involved in the entire system of using medical devices and getting it to the patient so that they can use it. So all of these people have to in some way be integrated into the system, and that's why at this stage of the ideation you have to know who these people are in your clinical area, and how they're affected with the innovation. So we're going to do this whole cycle one more time, but I want you to do it now with the product Nozino. Now assume that this invention is the idea, and this invention now becomes into the market, and this is the new device Nozino. So how will the flow of care change? Where will the care start from again? Yeah, Ayush has written patient from the child, right? The child's parent, this is where the care will start. And afterwards, where does it go?
So general
Emergency doctor.
doctors.
Now the GP, pediatrician, CMO. Now we are assuming Nozino is there. So we have to assume that they have Nozino. So what happens in the flow of care?
They are able to remove the foreign body. So
The care
don't
cycle,
have
care cycle
any.
stops here. So your ENT, your nurses, anesthetists, and your OT staff are basically cut out from the care system, right? So this device Nozino has the ability to remove these 3 stakeholders from the care system. Okay, now for us, it is important to understand whether this is going to negatively impact or positively impact. How do you think the ENT is going to react to this? Are they going to think it's a positive thing, or are they going to think it's a negative thing for them?
So if they will think of from the patient's point of view, it is a positive thing. But if they think about their personal point of view, it is a
Yeah, so Rui, everything is going to be positive and an innovation from the patient's point of view. But like you said, we have to understand from the stakeholders' perspective. So the ENT doctor, what it will think? Will the ENT doctor be happy about this invention or not?
He would be impacted negatively.
You'll be impacted negatively. Now, I'm an ENT doctor and I came up with the solution, right? So, does it mean that I'm impacting my own practice? I have followed a process where I've identified the problem, and the problem is that the first point of care where children are taken is not an ENT. If the child was taken to an ENT, even the rudimentary tool works. We are able to remove it because we are trained. The problem that exists in the unmet need is the patients in rural areas, and these people, they don't have access to ENTs there. They are only having access to general practitioners, CMOs, and whoever is their healthcare provider nearby. So the current scenario is such that it is not possible for majority of patients. I know in urban areas, a parent may take the child directly to ENT, but vast majority of this problem is in the rural area, and there they don't have enough ENTs, or they may think that it's a child, so I have to take to a pediatrician, or it's an immediate thing, so I have to take to the closest doctor. So because that cannot change, the only way to solve this problem is to enable these particular general practitioners, CMOs and pediatricians with a tool to remove the foreign body of the nose. Now, if you see how does this impact ENT in their scheme of things, because we have taken the decision to proceed with Nosino even after knowing that ENTs may not largely be aligned with it. But if you think about it, when you talk to ENTs and you understand, nasal foreign body is not the main chunk of their money, right? It's not, one might remove 8 or 10 nasal foreign bodies, and from each nasal foreign body, one might earn 500 rupees. So you're talking about a few thousand rupees of revenue that is going to be hit from the removal process. But when someone comes from surgery, of course, they make 10, 20, 30,000 from the procedure. But ENTs do lots of many other surgeries. This is just one, it's probably just contributes to 1 or 2% of the entire revenue of an ENT surgeon. So even though the ENT surgeon is impacted negatively, it is not significantly negative. Like, I mean, ENTs can survive without doing nasal foreign body surgeries. And generally also they may avoid tricky situations, especially with children and parents, and they're removing a foreign body. And if something happens, and especially with children, if things happens, it becomes a very difficult thing to manage, even also then their reputation as a surgeon and all of that. So when we spoke to a lot of surgeons, they were probably okay if this is handled before, because it's an emergency, and ENTs will have to come at any odd hour and do these kind of procedures, and it's not really a major chunk of the revenue source, and plus it's a very vulnerable population that they are okay to avoid. For all those reasons, even though it's negatively impacted, it is we figured out in our analysis that ENTs would probably be okay with it. The most impacted would be ENTs in rural areas. But ENT in rural areas can also upgrade the device from the Eustachian tube catheter to a Nosino. So that way, our device is not stopping these people from using it. So they can still use the device and in the rural areas, and still ensure that the foreign body is out, and then they can still get the revenues from the usual patient pool. So with that, even though negatively impacted, it looks like it is only minimally impacting. Nurses, anesthetists, OT staff always have a lot of other work to do, and these kind of procedures are not like a main chunk. So this stakeholder analysis allows you to discuss about these things and speculate on it. Otherwise, you don't think about it, right? Otherwise, you're just thinking of the device and you're like, chalo usko banate hain, usko nikalte hain. But you have to speculate, and this process allows you to identify who are the people and start thinking about how they're affected, so that when you go with them, you have specific questions to ask. And say that, how many, like you can go to a few ENTs and you can tell that, sir, ma'am, how many ENT surgeries do you do which is involving foreign body removal of the nose? What if this was handled outside and they don't reach to you? How would that affect you? I mean, you don't have to ask that directly. If you know it's a low volume, it won't affect them much. If it's a very high volume, you can assume or presume that yes, this is a important care or chunk of care that is provided. So that way then you can gauge can we get ENTs involved or not ENTs involved, and that's how you do it for the flow of care. Okay. Any questions here, guys? Are you able to understand how we're doing this? So similarly, flow of money. Where does the money start? Does that change? Starts from the
Patient.
parent guardian, and it will go to the GP, right? And the GP is already paid to buy Nosino, so it has gone to us. We have got the money from the GP for this particular. So what happens after this? Similarly, the ENT billing desk and other. So the hospital pharmacy and billing desk will be cut, but the other pharmacy will still be there, because generally with a child who's having an infected nasal foreign body, even if it is removed by the doctor or the general practitioner or the CMO, they will still be given a course of antibiotics and some painkillers and nose drops. So I think the pharmacy will still remain, and the same investigations can be done, to see whether an X-ray or anything else, to see whether the foreign body is there or not. So I don't think those will be impacted, but yeah, the fee to the ENT will be cut out. Any hospital admission that results in surgery will be cut out, and OT pharmacy and equipments and consumables, all of that will be cut out. So in this list, who do you think is most affected negatively?
So hospitals.
Yeah, for hospitals, they basically will value, like an entire admission would probably mean anywhere between 30 to 50,000 rupees of revenue, right? So for a hospital, they might think, that this is a revenue reducing thing, especially if they are located in the peripheries where they were getting a lot of these, surgeries. So that's important to note. Whereas pharmacy and lab technicians, imaging, or nearby to the general practitioner, there must be some private lab. There must be a local chemist or pharmacy. So those guys are still going to be, doing this. So this is how the flow of money impacts. Anesthetists, nurses, OT staff also get impacted. Now, in flow of product, does anything change?
No, sir.
So same thing, we are the device manufacturer, we distribute it, it goes to the purchase department, or directly it is sold to the GP or the CMO. The only thing is it doesn't go into the OT. Sterilization still happens, and waste segregation also happens. So largely, if we have to conclude, who are the people who are negatively impacted by Nosino?
So largely it will be hospitals, and less will be affected ENTs.
Yeah.
But in rural areas, ENTs will be affected as hospitals are getting affected.
Yeah, you're right. So the hospitals will largely be affected, and the ENTs will be affected negatively, and more so in the rural area hospitals and rural area ENTs. So what do you do when you're thinking about sustainability and impact? So one is, you never want to stray away from solving the need. You have to solve the need. And if the need is such that the patient itself is not brought to an ENT first and is brought to other group of doctors, your solution has to be there for it to be solved. Otherwise, you beat the purpose. The child still, requires this. And this is a very important understanding, because you may think that I've made a foreign body removal device and think that ENTs are going to be a big market for you, right? And you might completely have a very different understanding and think that, okay, you will sell it to ENTs because it's an ENT product, they will take it. But from this stakeholder analysis, you realize that not only they may not want to take it, they may not see much value in it. In fact, they may even feel that this product being sold to GPs and pediatricians may cut off some of their work. So the positioning automatically then becomes to sell to general practitioners, to sell to pediatricians, to sell to CMO, casualty medical officers. So then your market automatically becomes sales representatives to sell to these doctors. Or if you're doing purchase, it has to be purchased to community health centers, public primary health centers, your general hospitals under the government, where you know that ENTs are not there, but this product is required, because that is where you make a case of the benefit, and those stakeholders will be most interested to take it. Because GP or CMO, you can say that, look, a patient is coming to you, not able to provide care, then that impacts your image, and also then you lose a patient to another field. So they will be thinking that, okay, maybe if I buy a device for 5,000 rupees, and if I'm getting 10 foreign bodies, I'll still be able to recover the costs, and I'll still be able to provide care, and I will have better reputation in the society that, foreign bodies, they'll go to this doctor who 1 second mein nikal deta hai. So, that will build his otherwise image as well. So this kind of analysis helps you decide your marketing story, your strategy, on how you can influence in the right way and not influence in the wrong way. Like, for example, going to a large corporate hospital and selling nose, is a waste of your time, money, and resource. You don't want to do that. And that decision comes from such an analysis. So this helps you to decide what the product should be, also in terms of cost, in terms of maintenance requirement, and in terms of what is the network you will use to sell. And that way you're able to then create the impact faster, and it reaches the patient also in a faster manner. So this is how, in a very simple way, we do stakeholder identification and stakeholder analysis. So if you have any questions related to this, we can discuss. But I think from the 3 sessions that I was asked to do, I did an overview of the biodesign process. I told a bit about how you identify the problem, figure out the specifications, and develop a solution, and how do you use the stakeholder analysis to derive a business model, so that you can also think about commercialization, sales, distribution network, and how do you influence the right people, and how do you mitigate people who are not positively influenced, by thinking of this at the stage of idea generation. And this is a very important element of biodesign, which is largely, not emphasized. But this is the end of my engagement. If you have any questions related to any of the sessions before, I think we have a few minutes. I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, a lot of my information on how to get in touch with me is there over here. And you can put your questions there as well. But with that, thank you very much, everyone. And I had a great time interacting with all of you.
Thank you, sir, for such a great informative speech. So any questions from our participants are welcome. They can add it in the chat box itself, or they can ask directly. I think so. Everyone has understood the session, and I think so. They don't have that much questions.
Okay.
So yeah. So I think so. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for such an informative session, and I hope that everyone might have got some and lots of information from this. And yeah, thank you so much, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, and we will stay in touch.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for the session. And a close reminder that after the session, a feedback form will be shared. Please fill that feedback form accordingly. And yeah, let's wait for the next session. Till then, bye.
Thank you, sir.